Cell phones. We use them in our everyday lives. Some businesses use full use of cell phones to make their profits, such as telemarketers or even traveling CNAs. But that's not what we are here to talk about today. We are here to talk about a particular phone coming of age in a fairly recent new era, the smartphone. Now, smartphones were introduced in the early 90s and quickly made its name a bold statement in the market. Soon, everyone would either know about or have smartphones of their own. So, tell us, Mr. Enderton, do you own a smartphone?
Yes, I own a smartphone. I've owned 2 or 3 of them at one time, at some point.
How often do you use your smartphone?
Well, I use my smartphone often. I call people on it. I text people on it. I look up information. If I need to know what a next book in a series is, I can use that to get information. So it is something I use often.
So, tell us, what was it like, your experience, when the smartphones were first introduced?
Well, I think, we had cell phones before, so we could always call, text, and take pictures. But when smartphones came out, we also had a computer for our palms, and we could get information instantly. And so it totally changed the way I actually lived my life, not only at home but at school, because it was a tool in my job too. So it changed me quite a bit.
Actually, so after this initial experience, do you like using your smartphone even now?
I love my smartphone. It's just like I say, it's not just a phone anymore. It's a tool that I use in life, because I have information at my fingertips. I can find somebody if I want to. I've actually gone back and looked for old friends, and if I just Google in their name, all of a sudden I get a bio on them, and I use it. Okay, I'm sorry. What's the original question? I'm sorry.
Do you like using your smartphone?
I like to use my smartphone. I also, when I'm bored, which is easy to be sometimes, I play games, and it's just, I can keep in touch with friends. I like my smartphone.
So, how much of a change do you think smartphones have had?
It's had a positive change in that I have, like I say, information at my fingertips anytime I need it or want it. I can keep in touch with people. I don't have to write letters and wait for responses. I get everything back immediately. I pay my bills. I order products, to be delivered at my house. It has had a very positive impact on my life. Now, it also has had a negative impact in that I think it's cut down communication with face-to-face with people. It's almost comical if you go into a restaurant, that if you take and scan the whole dining room, I'd say 90% of the people are at a table with somebody, but both people are either buried in their Chromebooks or their iPads or their cell phones or their smartphones. So, and people don't talk. They now just sit there and look at their smartphones. So I'd say that is one of the negative impacts that I've seen from smartphones. People don't communicate. They also, being a teacher, I find that people find it easier to be very cruel and mean to other people because they don't have to face them and they can say horrible things about them, which is usually pasted all over for everybody to read. And I think it's become a tool to really hurt people. It's like a weapon.
Actually, a very good segue into our next question. How do you personally feel about how society is now, where we've become reliant on a smartphone?
I think that it really has affected how people communicate. I've had incidents where, even with my spouse, Janice, I complain constantly about how much she's on her smartphone, because I'll start to talk to her and she's so indulged in her phone that she doesn't either reply to me, which really makes me angry, or I don't know, you feel ignored. And I guess it really has affected my feelings in that way.
So, to wrap us up, do you think society could continue to function without smartphones?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think we would adapt back and we would probably use our laptops or desktop computers more. We wouldn't have the mobility, but if it need be, I think people could do without smartphones. And I'd say, I would venture to say that people might be a lot happier if they didn't have smartphones. It would lead them to go more out and find people to communicate with than just limit yourself by using your smartphone.
Joe had good things to say when we interviewed him, but we wanted more, so we interviewed David O. Shields, our college professor. First question, do you own a smartphone?
I own a smartphone. I own the iPhone 6 Plus, I believe is the proper model name. And I'm getting ready to replace it. I'm going to get the iPhone 13 Pro Max because my phone is almost 8 years old. It's like a 3G phone. And my current cell phone provider, which is Verizon, but it's being bought out by T-Mobile, is no longer going to allow me to use my phone. So yes, I own a smartphone.
How often would you say that you use your phone?
Probably 35, 40 times a day.
What do you usually use your phone for?
I use my phone primarily for texting and checking email, but I still use it as a regular phone for voice communication. But I would say primarily I use my phone for texting and checking email.
What would you say was the last phone you owned that was not a smartphone?
I used to own a track phone, which is like one of those portable phones that you buy and you just purchase a certain amount of time, and then you plug in the purchase code number. And so say for like, $20, you get, an hour's worth of time, something like that. So that was the last non-smartphone that I owned. And that would have been in 2003, I think. It was just a phone. You could barely do texting with it.
So how would you say smartphones have affected society?
I would say on the plus side, it's made people a lot more productive. People can do all kinds of tasks throughout the day, regardless of location. Email, texting, talking to people, going online, to check out certain projects or certain documents that they need to make themselves more productive during the day. On the negative side, I think we have, and I speak personally for this negative, I'm almost addicted to my phone. I would be lost without it at this point, and I find that more than a little bit sad. I do try to take at least one day a month and not use my phone at all, but then I find myself on my computer, texting and sending email that way. But I think overall it's afforded an opportunity for people to work from home a lot more easily than they did before. And I think it's made people more productive, and also it has improved the quality of life from the standpoint of being able to access the internet for purposes of entertainment, for Zoom sessions, for classroom work and that sort of thing, meetings. So there are positives and negatives, but I think overall it's been a positive step forward in our culture.
Do your kids, if any, have smartphones?
Yeah, my daughter has a smartphone and she uses it all the time.
How old are they?
My daughter is 30, she's going to be 37 this spring in April, so she's 36.
So, do you think the younger generation could live without smartphones?
Oh, I think all of us could live without smartphones, and so I think the younger generation, however you want to define that demographic, could live without the phone, but it would make their lives. I think for many people, especially people say that are under 30, it would make their lives more difficult because so many people don't have landlines now. They rely on their cell phone, not only for voice communication, but for all kinds of communication. So, in the broadest sense of the word, we could live without the cell phones. I think the younger generation could live without cell phones, but it would be difficult at first.
To wrap up, do you think society as a whole could function without smartphones?
Well, our society has evolved to incorporate cell phones into the lives of everyone. I mean, it's not just here in the United States, but it's all over the world. Smartphones are just part of our lives and part of our work lives, part of our entertainment and recreational lives. I think if smartphones went away, it would be a big step backwards for human civilization. At the same time, I think we would have an opportunity to reconnect with one another in more personal, intimate, more normal ways, more people-to-people interaction. I find when I'm on campus at UNI or campus here, or just around the community, people are often, they have the earbuds or they still have, earpieces or headphones. And I'm the kind of person, when I pass someone on the sidewalk or in a hallway, I like to wave and say hi or acknowledge them. And so many people are off in their own little world now with their earbuds and their audio, inputs, and of course their visual inputs, that they don't even see me. They don't even acknowledge me as another human being because they didn't hear me and they didn't see me because they're focused on their phone. So I think that's regrettable and a bit sad.
My name is Megan Kern. I'm currently a student at Iowa State University, and I am 21 years old.
Do you own a smartphone?
Yes, I do own a smartphone. I own an iPhone 11.
How often do you use your phone?
How often do I use my phone? I use my phone pretty much every day, if not every day, every hour, or you could even limit it as so much as to every 10 minutes, I guess I would say.
What do you use your phone for?
What do I use my phone for? I use my phone for connecting with other people, friends, family, and then I also use it for academic purposes, so checking grades, checking emails, also social media usage, so just seeing what friends and family in the community and the world are involved in right now.
What was your last non-smartphone?
My last non-smartphone was a Nokia. It had a sort of touch screen on it, and then if you slid up the screen, it had some sort of keyboard that you could type on.
How often do you buy a new phone?
How often do I buy a new phone? I tend to buy a phone probably every 2 to 3 years. I try and stretch it past that 3 years, but I would say an average of 3 years.
How do you think smartphones have affected society?
How I think smartphones have affected society, I think they've affected it in a positive, negative type way. So a positive way being connecting and making that sense of community. I could hop on my smartphone and reach someone from all the way across the world and talk about something, but at the same time, I think it's a negative sense in the aspect of social media usage, in that sense of perfectionism, in that sense of that persona of all sunshine and rainbows, everyone's life is awesome, and there's no sense of realism to it.
Do you think society could function without smartphones?
Do I think society could function without smartphones? I would say no, because it's been so integrated in our lives with everything we do, with connecting with others, academic reasons, work reasons, that I think it'd be pretty much impossible to function without it. So that's what I would say on that.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I do not have anything else to add. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for your time.
Today, more than 89% of the world's population admits to owning or have owned a smartphone. Less than 40 years ago, no one even thought about a smartphone, when it has become a strong statement in our everyday lives. So, when we ask the question, do you think society can live without smartphones? What would you say?